Before you were a prisoner, just when you were fighting, was being taken a prisoner a real concern for you and for your friends? I mean, did you worry more about becoming a prisoner of war than you were being killed, for example?
Yeah, absolute. And I saw the street was full Russians all night, and I was with a lieutenant. We slept under a spruce tree that had huge branches. You could not look under the spruce tree. And I said to myself, no, I will not be a prisoner of Stalin. I knew because of the books what kind of people they are. I said, I will kill myself 100% before they get me. And that is tomorrow morning, most likely. And I went under the tree and slept. A corporal that we picked up in the forest, he was crying. He was afraid we were Russian. I said, shut up. We are no Russians, we are Germans. That corporal, are you taking with you? Yeah, you can go with. And he went out in the morning and the Russians saw him and came in. And now he says, the Russian, but my gun was somewhere underneath that spruce tree. And I went out and said, you idiot, what are you walking around in the open here to this corporal? And in that moment, I saw 4 or 5 guys coming saying, Ruke vir, that means put your hands up. But I wanted to shoot me before they get me, but now the gun was 10 yards off, and they herded us off to the street, and that I didn't make it. If I saw that before, I would have killed me, but maybe God didn't want me to kill myself for some reason, you know.
How many other Germans were with you at this point?
We were about 20 guys, but they were not with us under this tree. I don't know where they came from.
Mm-hmm. Now,
they were already there when they led us there. Okay. So we were sitting there, and there was a post with a Russian post with us who watched us. And
did they separate the officers from the rest?
Yeah, the lieutenant was loaded on a pickup. He was brought to Moscow, you know, where all the officers were. They were not too bad off there in Moscow.
So where did you go? So did you have to walk a long ways? I think I remember reading in your book that you were taken to a train.
Yeah, near the Dnieper River.
Now, but you had a long walk before that.
Oh, yeah, we walked days and days to go back to the Dnieper River, and there was a train waiting for us. So we went to Moscow, and we were sitting 3 days in day and night in a thunderstorm. All around that huge place were kitchens, you know, field kitchens, steaming, but there was no food in it. It was only water. It was only for camera.
Okay.
Look at the German prisoners. They get fed. The kitchens are steaming, yeah, but not for us. Was nothing in it.
Now, when you were marched to the train, what did they do if you couldn't make it? What if you fell out of line, or you were wounded, or you got tired and you collapsed?
They shot the guys in the back. You cannot march anymore. Okay. Keep him in the ditch.
Okay.
It was a horrible thought to be a prisoner of war now, you know. But it took a long time to go back to Germany, and Germany was at this time very disappointing. They didn't. Yeah. Refused to examine me. They refused me. I had not a slice of bread. I couldn't get nothing. If I wouldn't have parents, I would have just lie down and die. it was not only Russia disappointing and horrible, but coming home and nobody wants you anymore. That was a terrible thing.
We're jumping ahead, but there was no official West German government policy about returning prisoners of war.
In Germany, they took you to a hospital and they treated you and gave you medication in Germany. Mm-hmm. But the Saar country was connected with French.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You know, there was a French-friendly government in the Saar country, so we have nothing to do with soldiers.
Right. Okay.
Because they ran away when Hitler came to the Saar country in 1936.
Right. Yeah.
They went to South America. Now they were back and they were in government, and they refused everything for me. Couldn't get a sip of water out. No, nothing.
Now, going back to the train ride, so you end up in Moscow for 3 days, 4 days?
Long time. I didn't count the days. I was only happy to be out of that camp. I had a good friend beside me who was a foreman in the forest when we cut wood, and he was afraid. Now he was from Cologne. There was no toilet. Then we came to, still in Russia, near Poland. And then I saw a toilet there that is a nightmare for the rest of my life. That was a long thing. There were cabins, one after the neighbor, no doors on it. So the guys and the girls, they were sitting on the toilet, and the train was passing past, you know, our train, and we looked out and said, wow, is that? And they had no paper, they cleaned them with rags and with everything. And it was, the Americans came very friendly. The Americans were very friendly to us. The Russians only sweared at us. The Americans were friendly. They said, go to the mess tent. We didn't understand English at this time. The mess tent, here, eat, there. So we went to the mess tent. It was a long tent. There were tables here in the middle. You could walk through, and tables here. And the tables were covered with a white linen, and each one had a soup with noodles and milk, and we had a coffee, bread, and a little sausage and little cheese and little marmalade, and we had real cutlery we didn't see in Russia. We had only a wooden spoon on the table where I was sitting. At least 3 people, including me, we were crying because now we saw how poor we were. You know, in Russia, how miserable it was. We could see there is still a life possible for us, you know, because in Eastern Germany there was nothing to eat, nothing. They didn't give us nothing. They gave us 13 Eastmark, you know, from East at Eastmark. And I said to a Politkommissar who was there, what can we do with the Eastmark? Is there anything to buy? He said, yes, 2 things. A shot schnapps, you know, 1 shot schnapps, or communist literature. And I said, oh, I know what I buy. And he said, and what is it? I said, communist literature. That's what I buy. And everybody was laughing, and he walked away.
Well, you could listen. You could use the communist literature as toilet paper.
That's the only thing in Russia.
So can we go back? So tell me about life in the Soviet camps. So you had some very interesting stories about your experiences in the Soviet work camps, some of the people that you met and some of the jobs that you had. Can you tell me about some of those? I was especially interested in the cabinet making. What I think in the winter you could not use the glue because it would freeze, right? You had to use nails. But when it got warm,
because it was too cold, it was -30 inside.
Yeah.
So you couldn't use glue.
Right.
But not only that, the rats were running around, you know, the rats that long. I don't know what the rats ate. They were down in the toilet. They had like a podium that high in wood and had hole here, hole here, hole here. And when you look down into the dirt, you see 6, 7 rats. And one of my friends, he made a brick loose, you know, in the wall and let it fall on, and the rats went with the head all down and the backs were still going.
So in other words, so he buried the rats in the shit, basically.
Yeah. And once I was sitting on that hole, an old woman came in, she had to clean, and she had from some branches made a broom, you know. She came too near me, and I said, "Hey, get out here." And she said, she sweared at me, you know. And what she said, I tell you what she said. She said, "Job mat." That means, go and fuck your mother. That was the language they talked with us. And I said, "No, go away." And she came with the broom and she went under me. I was sitting down in, you know, there was nothing to sit on. There was only a hole. I was sitting down and she went with the branches between my legs. I thought she rips me everything off now. That was a Siberian toilet. That's unbelievable, this whole thing.
Did you guys, you were so hungry, I think sometimes, did you ever eat the rats?
No, we didn't eat the rats, no. But we ate everything else. I mean, we ate the glue. They had casein powder, and if you put water on it, it goes up. And then you put soda on it, and you have a first class cold glue. So we took I said, I need some glue. We made us little boxes of plywood, and they gave us this full. And then the Cossack boys walking there, they stole, as soon as I turned my back, they stole my glue and they ate it. I wanted to eat it. And they stole my stuff. And I said, "If you dirty Russian," he said, "Sir, we are no Russian, we are Cossacks." I said, "Oh, wow, no, I didn't know that." So he said, "If you steal my glue again, I take you and I stick you with a head through this shithole." And he said, "You don't do that." I said, "I tell you." And I catched him stealing my thing. I went there and the whole gang was after me. They all wanted to see that. And I took him and put him with the...
You did that. You took him and stuck him in the toilet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. This story is not in your book, so this is great. You have some good stories that are not in your book. What about some of these other incidents that are not funny? I mean, you have people, you know, that are dying of, you talk about barracks where there's sick people, where there's dying people. You have different groups of barracks.
There were 2 barracks full. In that first came 2 barracks people, they couldn't walk. And there was another barrack, there were Romanians in, they were stable. But the 2 barracks came, 600 people left near the Volga and 500 people arrived, 100 people died, and the rest was so weak we couldn't even walk. We couldn't walk anymore. We jumped down in the snow from the train and they all fell down. And I said, "What, are you kidding? Why are you lying down?" He said, "We cannot get up." So I jumped and I fell down and I couldn't get up. So they carried us with 2 Romanians, one here, to the camp. And it was -40, and we couldn't get up. And wow, that was on the 24th of December on Christmas Day, 1944 was that.
Mm.
And then in the evening, nobody said anything in this barrack. Some people died. They gave us 2-liter water to wash, and some people just fell down and were dead. And to go into the barrack, there was a step like this, and we couldn't get up. It was horrible. There nothing to eat. They gave us nothing to eat. Next morning, a guy from Asia came with a yellow jacket and a blue pants. It was an officer of the camp. He said, "Как дела, солдат? How are you?" "Bad." And he said, "Why bad?" I said, "We have nothing to eat." He said, "You are too weak to eat." "Oh, we are too weak to eat. Well, then bury us." But that guy died next day because they had a bag of sukhari left. Sukhari is bread that thick, completely dry, hard like rock. And he ate all night of this bread and drank water on it, and his stomach went apart. So he was dead. Yeah, things like that, that's only in Russia.
How bad were lice in the summertime? You know, the little lice that
Oh, we were full lice.
How would you deal with that? How would you?
Well, once a month they gave us 2-liter water, no soap, no towel. So we put the water on us. We had this, shaved it off every month. Here shave, here shave. They had everything because the lice, they put eggs on the hair, you know. We had about average 40 to 50 lice in our shirts all the time. They gave us 2-liter water to wash us, and they gave me a number, and there was a big chamber with a door on it that thick, and there was a gypsy. He was going in, and there was a firing. They fired with wood underneath, and it was very hot, like a baking oven. And he had to go and hang our clothes up with a number on and close the door. And when we were finished washing, he gave us the clothes back, and these clothes were very hot. And then all the lice, they exploded, you know, in the heat. Toilets in the camp, no paper to clean up. But you don't need no paper. You know why? The body took everything out what's going in. The little bit, the 3 water soups and the 3 slices bread. There is nothing. You get no stool. And after 1 week, you get a little stool and it falls out, you know, like from a deer.
A jelly bean.
But we had paper. We had to pay for our 200-gram bread. 100 we gave a guy for a newspaper, and we put it in our pocket, took a little bit if we needed, you know. And we were young. Now there were people, they were 18 years older than me. They were also soldiers. Now for them it was a greater challenge, this kind of life there.
I think in your book you mentioned that the people who became the most sick or died were under 20 or over what was it? The 20-year-olds tended to survive better.
No, not all of them.
Okay, but who was
but you know who died first? If I tell the story to people here, they say, "Oh, you were a strong man." No, I was not a strong man. I was never real strong. I had energy and goodwill, but I was not strong. The people who died first were the farmers' people or the men who had everything to eat in Germany they wanted. So the farmers guys have big bones, big frame, you know. And if you don't get enough to eat, so the bones take everything you eat, there is nothing left for the intestine, for the heart, for the brain, for the anything. So they died on tuberculosis because there was no strength in the lung. 6 guys died beside me on tuberculosis. The Russians came and said, you are the carrier of tuberculosis, but you are immune. And now we have to find out if this is so. We have to go and x-ray you. So they put me in the middle of the winter on a sled and a little horse in front. And I went to town and I had 10 blankets on me. And I prayed and said, God, let me have tuberculosis. I want to die beside my mother on the stove and have enough bread and water. And I want to die there, not here. I had to go upstairs. The Russians never cleaned snow away. There was hard snow on every street, and I had no power. I pulled me up on the side rail, and I came in a room with 2 Jewish doctors, white coat on, and they talk as good German as me. And they said, okay, you stand this way to all the 4 sides they photographed. And when it was finished, I said, you can go. I said, I'm not going. I want to know what I have, what's wrong. And they said, your lungs are clean. Oh, well, and I wanted to have tuberculosis, and now my lungs.
There was one story you mentioned, a nurse named Lisa?
Yeah, the sister Lisa, our Polish sister.
Can you tell me about that story? They thought you were dead, right? They covered you with a sheet.
My back was hurting unbelievable, and I got more sick and more sick and more sick. And then they called Lisa. She brought glasses, round glasses. They had the opening and a flat rim. Okay. And she had a piece, a little branch from a tree, and she had a rack around and put it in alcohol and light it up. And she went in like this, and then she put it on my back, and then it sucks the sickness out, you know, it should suck the sickness out. Then I got worse. The next day I was on my front lying because the back was too painful, and I was dying, really dying. And Lisa came and put her own linen, bed linen over me. And so that because there was a guy lying here and a guy lying here. And then I was in a light room, and I was, you know, just, I would die. Suddenly, this guy said to this guy over my head, they came together here, and he said, look, Scherer is dead, and the soup is coming in half an hour. It was 11:30 in the morning, and we divide the soup and the bread, and tomorrow morning we do the same, and then we have to report it.
After we get his food.
I was dying, yes, but I heard that. Oh, they want to eat my bread? No. And I went up. It was so difficult to get up, and said, no, you don't eat my bread. And I wanted to crawl on my knees to the corner post. The bed went around like this. And I hold myself. There was a center post in wood, was split a few times, and the bed bugs were in there. And I holding me my face on that center pole, and the bed bugs come out and sting me here in my face. And they run over to Lisa and they said, hey, Scherer is not dead. But I was a skeleton. How can she treated me always a little bit better than the rest? But I was a skeleton. Anyway, she ran back and brought her own tea, a big cup of tea, black tea, a soup spoon of sugar in it. And that was gold. Nobody had Russian. She, as a nurse, she had sugar. Everybody, no sugar. And there was a spoon in it. And I stirred it and drank it down. And the thein, the caffeine, revived me, and I felt so much better, after that tea. And then the soup came, they wanted to eat, and my bread. And 3 months later, without any other medication or more food, I could walk again. And I could go out, and the war was over. That was on the 5th of May, 45, when the war was over,